Okay, so let's take a look at these tom tracks here and see what we have in store. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is route all of these into a folder track. That's called in Cubase. And what a folder track does, I would guess just about every DAW has this by now, it says I can cut here and here, and then tom 1, tom 2, for both bottom and top are now removed. In other words, what I'm going to do for this particular editing, at least going in, this just makes the process so much more intuitive and so much more, I guess, faster, is thinking of the toms as just one unit. And I don't know if that's exactly what I want to teach here, but it's a start. It's a good phase one. And so by looking at what we've got here, I guess we can go ahead and listen to it. Ah! Where are those in there? Okay, here we go. I guess I'm getting a hair ahead of myself. Let's listen to the toms by themselves first of all. That is junk. We don't want any of that to speak of. So what I've decided to do is, because there's so much junk in these toms, these cymbals are so loud, and we got a lot of ringing on this kit. So the combination's pretty deadly. So what I've decided, we could gate these, and let's just, for a reference also, I think we've done this before, but solo the toms, so you know what's going on here. That's just a lot of bleed, a lot more than I really want to work with. If somebody says, hey, turn them toms up, like me, then we're going to have to deal with a whole bunch of extra, and I think we have plenty of that already. This Inherit kit, it just has a sound of loud cymbals, which is not what we want. But we'll make it work. Now, and that's got the kind of 400 hertz kind of thing going on, and then it's got its own resonant weirdness, and then so we really struck out on this one. Usually a kit will have 1 or 2 toms or 1 or 2 tracks that give you problems. This one, we have trouble on all of them. Just the nature of the drums, and that's okay. It's not going to hold us back any, but we do have to work a little harder. So what I've elected to do is just chop these out. In other words, I got a tom that hits right here. There I go, putting people in there again. Damn singers. Okay, and so yeah, those are pretty rough right now, but let's just go ahead and cut it off. And we'll be kind of liberal here. We'll leave a bunch of the splash from the cymbal in there. What's going on here? Okay, so we can kill those, or anything up to that point, should I say. Okay, and then again, the folder track does all 4 of them at once for us, so let's save us some time. Oops. Okay, that was on the loop, so we don't need to worry about that at the moment. I'll go and cut it off anyway here. Okay, so basically we've got, for this particular section, we got 1 boom, and then dun 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 dun. And you'll notice here I'm focusing on just the chorus. I'll do that a lot. I like to get the chorus figured out and work my way from there. So I really don't care about anything else in the song at this point. And being a rock type metal song, it's not going to change dramatically anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so let's look at these toms now. All right, now the thing I hate the most is the way they decay at the end. That's a problem. And then we have a whole bunch of mud here too. But first off, we need to remember. I'm losing my mind here, boys, girls. We need to remember that we have bottom and top to play with. So let's just listen to the top within the context of the rest of the drums. Okay, they're a little bit cardboardy. The 400 hertz, real just kind of nothing really flattering about that. Now, what do we have with the bottoms? A little dumb, but they feel a little bit better in some ways. Dumb, again, that low mids type of stuff. Now, let's take a listen and make sure that they're blended proportionally with one another. Just by eyeball, and that tom 2 is louder than tom 1 on this particular case. Okay, that already gets us closer. Now, let's see how tom 2 top and bottom work together. Yeah, we're kind of not in love with that at all. That tom top is not good. We need a lot more attack than that, so we may have to get really creative with that. Not a problem. Okay. And you see what we're doing here with these real drums. Like I said before in other videos, this is a good project, and this drummer played well, and we did most things right. The kit probably could have been better set up for what we're doing, a lot tighter, but we kind of just went with it. But this was a good project. This is a common thing if we don't just nail the sound in the room, and some drummers just do. You may have noticed, like in the Mixer Man, one of his books, he's talking about the drum tech tuning the drums and all this stuff. He's an engineer, but he's not a master of drum sounds in terms of in the room. And that's something that's very, very important. And that when you buy these samples nowadays, somebody already did all the work to get those drums, perfect in terms of tuning and getting the rings out and all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole lot of damage control involved with using real drums. And this is why I have no moral, adherence to, or moral issues anyway, with the samples. I will use them all day long because it means I don't have to do what I'm doing right now, which is more or less sound design. Sound design is not the same thing as music. Don't mix the two up, although they overlap a little bit. Okay, and there's just Tom 1. Okay, so what I want to do first is I want to enhance some attack, and I got to figure out a clever way to do that. This may require some gating. It may require some transient designer. I want when it goes dun 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 dun. I want to hear that, that slap of that pop on each transient. So that's something I'm going to think about. But in the meantime, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and EQ these. Let's listen to them back in the context of all the drums. And I don't know if it's early or not for that, but let's just go ahead and slap EQ on the tom bus. Where are you at, Tims? Getting too many red buses here. And I'm going to go ahead and use Cambridge just because I like having all the various filters. And we definitely have some issues with level. I like to mix my toms too loud on purpose. That keeps me from wimping out later. It's a weird thing, but it'll work out, you'll see. But because they're loud, we have to be extra careful with mud and things like that, which is, again, another reason I like to do this. Okay, so let's listen to this little section looped. Hopefully it won't drive you too crazy. And again, I want these loud. We could turn them down and hide that whatever that is, that 200 hertz, 300 hertz thing. And also, I'm actually going to use a spectrum analyzer. These help me know what's going on a little bit more. Isotope alloy I could have used, and maybe probably should have, but we'll go ahead and use span here and put it on fast. This can make life a lot easier when you're trying to hear those problem areas. And, well, that's cymbals, I guess. I was getting ready to say, these tracks aren't devoid of top end, but you saw the cymbals fly up. In an ideal situation, our toms would have all kinds of, stuff up here whenever we smash the toms, and not a lot of that stuff otherwise, but we'll invent it. And you can see a few different peaks there, it's slow to decay, 123, 80. Those might actually be decent ones. It's a little bit higher that we don't like, so maybe sweeping is a better idea. Yeah, that's a pretty crappy frequency, so we're using the sweep technique. And let's just see what happens when we pull out, I don't know, whatever that is, 8 decibels. And toms is something that I like to do. I like to make them brighter by cutting something else. For example, right now I just boosted whatever that was, 7K, just looking for where the sweet spot is, which means I kind of like the 7K stuff. We can make it sound like it has more 7K by scooping elsewhere, usually lower. It's a cool trick, and it's all about relative level, really. By having less of whatever this is, let's just say, if you look at that overall curve, it means we have more of this, this, and this. So whatever you didn't cut is technically louder as long as you adjust your levels again. So sometimes it's better to not just default to boosting, but to actually cut out, look more for junk than for good, I guess. See, there's our cardboard frequency, and a 383. basically 400 hertz. So that's got to go. At least go down a lot. Okay, and we could definitely benefit from the top end here up at about 12K, but we got to be careful with those cymbals. When the cymbals hit, we got a major problem on our hands. So we may have to come up with some gadgetry to curtail that, but we have our methods. So I'm going to leave those up, and now for this particular part, I'm going to shorten it so that when the cymbals come in, it may cut off that attack. And for this, we may actually have to look at the drums as two entities, as a low resonant boom, and also as a, that attack that, especially with metal type toms, where you go, it really does sound like, like that, like you're knocking on a piece of wood or something. So let's cut this short a little bit and see what that does for us. Okay, and obviously that's not going to work, but this is going to be I may have to bust this up into 4 or 5 videos to show you what I end up doing. And I may not have the video running when I'm figuring it out, because this one's going to be new. It's going to be a little bit challenging, I got a feeling. And just to see if we're going nuts here, let's see what happens if we bypass our EQ. Okay, so we are getting closer. But now we have to be very careful since we're boosting so much at 12K because the toms were upside down, as I call it. We definitely got to be careful. Anytime that cymbals come in, they're going to come in with a vengeance. All right, well, this is step 1. I'm going to do some homework here and report back to you guys so I can show you exactly the best way to do it.